Hello, hi, and welcome to this episode of the Mandy Mayer podcast. As per usual, you know what this podcast is about already. It's all about you achieving your goals, no matter what goals they are. It's all about you taking that first step to working on change. It's all about you taking that first step to working on creating that healthier lifestyle and potentially having fat loss as a byproduct of you creating that healthier lifestyle through creating healthier habits. If you have not yet, I would really appreciate it if you can rate or review this podcast, no matter whether it's on the Apple Podcast platform or whether it's on the Spotify platform, or even if you're watching on YouTube, just give it a thumbs up. Any engagement or ratings or reviews that you guys do on this podcast, it really helps get this podcast out there to newer listeners, and that really helps spread the word, or it just helps get this information to greater audiences, which in turn can really help so many more people. And at the end of the day, that is the goal with this podcast. And to anyone and everyone who has already rated, reviewed, shared, and whatever with this podcast, thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. Let's get into today's episode of this podcast. How do you stop late night eating, late night snacking? How do you work on combating this? Because let's be real, if fat loss is your goal, you want to be in an average calorie deficit over a long period of time. And if you are consuming snacks later at night, or if you are eating a lot of food that is not planned later at night after your dinner, then that could very well affect you being within a calorie deficit, which at the end of the day will affect your fat loss. So, number one, what you can start doing is set a cut-off time. And what I mean by that, what I mean by setting a cut-off time is establish a specific time at night where you decide this is where you're going to cut it off. This is where you're no longer going to have food after that very specific time at night. And here's the thing, be strict about it. If you say after 8 p.m. at night, you're not eating, then don't eat after 8 p.m. at night. Or if you say your dinner is from 6:30 till say 7 p.m. at night, and that's when you're calling it your cut-off time, then be strict about it and set that as a cut-off time for yourself. Number two, create an evening routine, or create a routine. And essentially what I mean by that is a routine that sees you relax and unwind after a very busy day or after a hectic day, a routine that does not involve you diving into the snack cupboard an hour after dinner. So no matter what it is, whether it is a routine of spending some quality time with a family, maybe spending some quality time with your kids, maybe helping the kids with the school homework, for example, or maybe going for a quick walk after dinner if it's safe to do so, create an evening or create a routine that does not involve food. So again, it could be something like journaling. It could be something like an exercise session. It could be something like spending time with the family. It could be something like reading a book. It could be something like taking a long hot bath. Create a routine for yourself. Number three, stay hydrated throughout the day. Set yourself some water goals, some water targets, and drink that water throughout the day. I know this sounds so silly, but oftentimes you can tend to turn to snacks because you feel you might be hungry, but more often than not, or not more often than not, but oftentimes it could be that you are thirsty and not necessarily hungry. So stay hydrated throughout the day. Number four, and this goes without saying, eat balanced meals throughout the day. Stop the shit of skipping breakfast and skipping lunch and then having a snack and then over-consuming at lunchtime and then having breakfast the next day and then not eating dinner. Create a scheduled or a frequent meal schedule for yourself of balanced meals. Your balanced meals that contain all your different food groups. Volume up those meals, eat those meals more or less 3 times every single day. If you are still snacking at night, and it's unwanted snacking, so it's not a planned snack and it's not intentional, really have a look at how you're structuring your meals throughout the day and what sort of ratio of your macronutrients are on those meals or in those meals that you are eating throughout the day. Number 5, and this is so important, is identify the triggers. Identify any triggers that trigger you to have those unwanted snacks late at night or to have those snacks at night that were not necessarily part of the plan. Now that I cannot do for you. I cannot say to you, oh, that triggered you and that triggered you. You need to take a pen, you need to get a piece of paper, you really need to write down your triggers. And to be able to identify those triggers, you need to be very mindful in the moment of when that snacking does take place, that unwanted snacking. As soon as that does take place and you can identify any triggers, write them down so that you know what you're dealing with in the future if that same trigger takes place. Number 6, if you know that you are someone that does snack a lot after dinner or you do snack a lot before you go to bed and you know that it is definitely something that's increasing your calorie consumption throughout the day and you know that this is something that is standing in the way of you creating a calorie deficit and losing fat, then I would definitely say have a look at implementing or including some lower calorie snacks into your plan. So create an emergency snack pack, for example. But what I mean by that is you're going to intentionally plan your snacks that you are going to have. You're intentionally going to take those snacks, put them in a little Tupperware for yourself, and you're going to calculate the calories of that and you're going to add it as part of your calorie controlled plan. So again, it's not unwanted snacks that are now taking place. This is snacks that you have intentionally thought about having and you have actually prepared them and they form part of your calorie controlled plan. Number 7, and I know many of you are not going to like this, but limit your screen time. There are so many people out there who, spend maybe 3 hours or 4 hours, maybe more. I don't know. I don't live with you guys. I literally don't know. Only you would be able to figure it out as to how much time you are spending in front of the TV. So let's say, for example, you get home from work, whatever time it is, right? You need to do an audit as to how long you are spending in front of the TV because more often than not, when you sitting in front of the TV, you're watching Love Island, for example, that random example, but you could be watching anything. All of a sudden now you're getting a little bit bored. All of a sudden what happens? You start snacking. That snacking becomes habitual. So essentially what you can start doing is start keeping yourself busy through doing something else for a little while in the evening and then cut your screen time down to, let's just say, from 4 hours to maybe an hour or 2 hours. Again, random example, you would need to figure out what your screen time is. So again, like I said, try and limit that screen time because oftentimes your unwanted snacking can stem from the fact that you are sitting in front of the TV or sitting in front of Netflix and your mind isn't overly occupied. And a lot of times that snacking might stem from boredom and it might be very mindless at the end of the day. And then lastly, number 8, get enough sleep. Okay, this, if possible, where possible. Now, again, I know if you've got a toddler at home or you've got young kids or whatever it is, it can be very difficult to get a decent amount of sleep. I also know if you start in a new business or if you work in long hours, I know it can be very difficult to get a decent amount of sleep. But I also do know that if it is at all possible to increase your sleep and to get more sleep and get better sleep, then definitely do it because the benefits of getting more sleep totally outweigh the just not getting enough sleep. There's no nice way of putting it, right? Any sleep that is not great and not long enough really affects how you show up the next day, but it also affects your appetite hormones, right? So again, if you're lying awake till 12 o'clock at night for no reason, just to watch Netflix, and you're sleeping for 5 hours every single night, I would strongly suggest that you really look at starting to sleep a little bit more so that your appetite hormones don't go apeshit crazy throughout the day, because oftentimes it can be those very appetite hormones that lead you to overconsume on unwanted snacks, especially in the evening. If at any point you found any of this information useful, or you feel like you want to share it with someone because they might need to hear it, please do so, or please feel free to share it with someone, whether you share it with your auntie or uncle, maybe you share it via WhatsApp, maybe you share it onto your Facebook group, maybe you share it from YouTube onto, I don't know, WhatsApp or some auntie's uncle's group. I don't know, I just know that the power that we have within this podcast, the power that you have to be able to share this information, we can actually get it out there and reach so many more people and just help so many more people. But of course, I need your help with that. On that note, I am going to love and leave you like I usually do. Keep smiling, keep laughing, and keep being kind to one another. Much love, your friend who really does appreciate all your support, Mandy.